Hi, I'm Zibby Owens, and you're listening to the award-winning podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Please sign up for my newsletter at zibbyowens.com for weekly updates about my podcasts, events, and more. Also, follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens and also at Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. And finally, join my virtual book club called Zibby's Virtual Book Club, which meets every other Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time until 3 p.m. and features half an hour of book club discussion followed by 30 minutes of Q&A with the author whose book we've just discussed. You can sign up on my website, zibbyowens.com, under the Virtual Book Club section, or even on Instagram under the link in my bio. I hope you'll find me in all these different channels and enjoy this podcast. Hi, everybody. So today, the sponsor for my podcast is my other podcast. I am launching Moms Don't Have Time to Lose Weight. It launched Monday, October 12th. And hopefully it'll stick around for a long time. It features women talking to other women about their journeys of their bodies and getting tips and commiseration and all the things we need so that we don't feel alone in trying to make our bodies feel better tomorrow than they do today. So check out Moms Don't Have Time to Lose Weight. And it's also a community now on Instagram at Moms Don't Have Time to Lose Weight. So if you fall into that category like I do and so many of us, come join us. The door is open. Welcome to the first day of my children's book blast. The first episode that I'm releasing today is If You Come to Earth by Sophie Blackall. Inspired by the thousands of children she met in travels around the world for Save the Children and UNICEF, two-time Caldecott winner Sophie Blackall has created an ambitious yet child-accessible book of everything. Sophie Blackall, for those of you who might not know, is also the illustrator of the Ivy and Bean series, which my older daughter is obsessed with. She's also illustrated a bazillion other books, including Finding Winnie, The Baby Tree, Are You Awake?, Big Red Lollipop, another favorite of ours, Red Butterfly, Ruby's Wish, that was also great, and so many other books. And I was just thrilled to have a heart-to-heart with her.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I tried to take a shower and get dressed in time for this call and I just ran out of time.
Me too.
I took my dog for this long walk and then I was like, oh my gosh, it's later than I thought. So anyway, why don't we talk about your beautiful new book, which is just amazing with your characteristic, beautiful illustrations and all the rest, these positive world messages and everything. Tell me a little about what made you write this book and why now?
Well, I happen to have it right here.
Amazing.
I prepared. It's called If You Come to Earth, and I have been incredibly fortunate to work with UNICEF and Save the Children and had traveled with them to various countries over the years, to Bhutan and Rwanda and Congo and India. And meeting children in all of these countries was something I think about every day. You know, it was just incredible privilege. But on some level, it was frustrating because I couldn't talk to them for the most part. Often they would have very little English and I run to some French and that's about it. Shamefully, I couldn't communicate with them. And that was, I would leave these tiny village schools on the top of a mountain where there had been maybe 5 or 10 kids and we'd spent the day together and we'd giggle and draw pictures because that is the way that I communicate with anyone if I can't talk to them. But I would leave thinking, there's so many things I want to ask you. I want to ask you about your lives. I want to ask you what you dream about, what makes you laugh. And so I could do as much as I could do with drawing, but I vowed to make a book that would be for all kids in the world, about all of us and the planet we share and the things that are familiar to us so that kids might see something they recognize in a book, and also the things that we don't know about each other and the things that are surprising and unfamiliar. So that was the goal. I had no idea it would take so long because essentially it is a book about everything in the world. And every time you put something in, you're leaving something out. And so it was helpful to find a narrator so I could blame the child. Well, it's this child's view of the world, and everybody has their own view. So the omissions are theirs and not mine. But it did take 7 years, and it did take a village, as most books do, but especially this one.
Which part of the village was most helpful to you?
It was, somebody asked me recently what was the best part about making this book, and I said without hesitation it was the village, because people are extraordinarily helpful when you ask them questions. And I'd always been a little bit shy and I would kind of avoid, talking to a stranger. But with this book, I talked to so many strangers because I wanted to know the people I was putting in the book. Almost everybody in the book is somebody I either met or saw with my own eyes or chatted to on the subway or in Central Park or, on a ferry in Bhutan, a little tiny putt-putt boat or just along the way. So all of these people have cameos in this book. And to me, it was kind of putting real people in there. So even if they look like a cliched representation of somebody, that person was real. I saw them, I spoke to them. And those people's stories are intertwined on every page of this book. And to me, when I open it, it's this rich tapestry of humanity. And that with every interaction, I felt more grateful that I'm alive and part of that. And for all our differences, and especially now, almost everybody has a smile and a story to tell you if you open. And that was a big blessing for me.
It's true. So now that you have sort of united everybody through this book, like, I feel that the world is so fractured right now. I feel like this is the most divisive time. I mean, I've certainly lived through, not that I'm so ancient, but you know, in recent history, I feel like it just keeps getting worse. And you've been like this little soldier going around the world collecting little, more like a mail lady or something, right? You're getting missives from everybody and mixing it all up. So with that unique point of view, like, what can we do? Like, how can we highlight the fact that we're all just human? We're all going through the same stuff, love and loss and what we put in our mouths for breakfast and, just all the same stuff. How do we make that message like rise to the fore?
I think there are two ways that became sort of clear to me with this book, for me at least. And it's a sort of macro and micro kind of thing. But the one is to talk to people. And I think when you actually hear somebody else's story, and again, the kind of cliches of walking in someone else's shoes, which you can't ever really do, but to hear somebody else's story makes them real to you. And, I always think that with curiosity comes a certain empathy. If you're curious enough to ask another person instead of to make assumptions, how are you feeling? What do you feel about that? I don't know. I can imagine what your response might be, but I don't know. And so I should ask you. And if you're willing to tell me, then that is a gift. And then I will learn something. And that goes for people who have very different political views to me. They have signs in their backyard that I vehemently disagree with, and yet they will come and help me fix a flat tire. There's in Congo, I met some of the most wonderful, generous, warm people who felt that being gay was a terrible sin, and 2 of our 4 kids are gay. So there are so many things like that I think, we just see things so differently, and yet there's this warmth and generosity to you. And I think if you met my kids, you might think differently. And maybe if I, listen to your stories, I might be able to see more clearly what it's like to be a farmer and, how difficult that has been. And so I think that's the micro. And then I think the macro is whenever there's something global, and a pandemic is one of those things, but also a comet or an eclipse, when we, instead of looking down at our feet or, inside our own heads, we actually look out and up and realize that we are this one tiny planet in a vast, vast universe. And I think about the pale blue dot and Carl Sagan. I'm a big Carl Sagan fan. And him saying in that picture that was taken from Voyager 1, 4 billion miles from Earth, this speck, that's us, that's here, that's everyone we know, everyone we love, everyone we've never met, suspended on a mote of dust in a sunbeam. That's all we are. And so if we can't learn to live together on this planet, there's no hope for us. So to try with the daily conversations, I think.
Wow. You should be like a Mother Teresa type world icon, I feel like. No, I mean it. We need voices like yours to drown out the other voices, honestly. Like, this is such This just so speaks to my beliefs and my heart and what I think is important too. And you say it in such a beautiful way and it literally illustrated. So it's amazing. Have you always been this sort of holistic's the wrong word, but, sort of globally minded and, a uniting type of force? Like, has this been in your DNA forever? Is it something that's grown out of you in adulthood?
I don't know. I mean, I've always been really conflict averse. I was one of those kids, oh no, let's not fight, have it your way. It's just, but I really think having had the opportunity to work with UNICEF and Save the Children, opened the world to me in a way that I'll be forever grateful for. I mean, to walk into a village in the jungle in Congo where children had never seen anyone they didn't know before. It was extraordinary. And to spend this day with them and then to walk away and think, I will remember this for the rest of my lives. But in my life, I don't know what you will think. But I think about those kids all the time and wonder what they're up to. And I hope they're well and surviving. And I don't know.
Had you always been an illustrator? Like, did you love to draw from a young age? Tell me about the progression of that part of your life.
I was very fortunate that my mother was a single mother, but she really worked hard to make sure we always had art supplies. And even in my case, I lived in a country town in Australia, and after school, I was allowed to walk home because that was the 70s and that's what you did. And I would walk home past the butcher's shop and stop in and ask them for some of the paper, the big sheets of paper that they'd roll sausages up in. And they knew me and they were very kind. They'd roll up paper and give me a couple of slices of bologna into the bargain. So it was a fantastic deal for me. But I always drew, and my brother and I lived in most of our lives up trees with books, and we had a rope strung between the trees and a basket, and we would send books back and forth to each other. And he was older, so really I just wanted to read anything he was reading, the Hardy Boys and all those kinds of adventure stories and Winnie the Pooh and so we just we're very lucky to grow up with books, which so many kids don't. It's this privilege that I completely took for granted as a kid. My father is a publisher in Australia, and so not only did we have books in every room of the house, but he was making books as well. So I got to see that, which was thrilling. To turn a story and then put it into paper and ink and bind it into this beautiful physical object. So I've always loved. I can't imagine not having books around me. We just downsized as empty nesters from a 4-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn into a cozy 1-bedroom, which we thought was just this delightful corner building filled with light, but it is the noisiest corner. So you can probably soon you'll hear a fire engine and a garbage truck, and then
I'm in Manhattan and usually there are sirens back and forth here too. So I get it. No worries. And so then how did you get your start illustrating professionally?
It was what I always wanted to do. I was one of those kids who were, that's what I'm going to do. I think it was Winnie the Pooh that I would look at Ernest Shepard's drawings and trace them onto this butcher paper and try and figure out how, break it down. Like, how did he make those lines and how did he put so much character into those tiny sketches? And then I just sort of set about doggedly getting to do that. And I remember being sent my first manuscript and just getting goosebumps and thinking, it was a book called Ruby's Wish, written by Shirinian Bridges, and it's a true story of her grandmother who grew up in China, and she was one of the first girls to go to university. And so it fed into all of my kind of feminist, girls can do anything principles. And it was this wonderful story. And I had just spent time in China. And so everything kind of came together, and it was just thrilling. And there are most days, I think it's almost too lovely to consider that this thing that I do is work. It's like I actually get to do this and call it work. It's traveling and drawing and books and children, all my favorite things. And they're all combined. So very lucky.
Well, my older daughter, I have 4 kids as well, and my older daughter was so excited that I was talking to you because she has read all the Ivy and Beans.
Oh.
We have like walls of Ivy and Beans.
Oh, that's
land. Just waiting for my next kids to get interested. So, and of course, we've read just so many of your beautiful picture books and all the rest too.
That's lovely.
Particularly rewarding to be able to hear from you. Are you remarried now? Not to keep prying into now that I feel like
we were actually going to get married this summer, but we decided we couldn't have a wedding if we couldn't hug our friends and family. So we're going to try and do it again next year. We are building a retreat for children's book writers and illustrators.
Yes, I wanted to talk to you about that. What's it called again? Wait, I wrote it down. Milkwood Farm?
It's called Milkwood, yes, from Dylan Thomas's Under Milkwood. So this is this great big project that we're doing, and we thought we would get married there at the same time. But with COVID, everything has slowed down a little bit. But it will happen. And in the meantime, we're building this thing that I'm thinking of more and more as a kind of arc for people to come and to be together and to eat and drink and walk and talk and draw and write and think, and in lovely wildflower meadows in the Catskills. And I think it's going to be some sort of, I hope, some kind of sanctuary where we can, where we can stop and be quiet and be noisy and be all the things in the same place that we haven't been able to do, to gather together. I think it's something that people are yearning for. I know I am.
How do I sign up? Where's the form? I'm like, save me a bed or whatever. How is it going to work? Seriously.
We'll probably sleep 10 to 12 people. So there'll be quite intimate things, and there'll be a lot of different ways that it will work. There'll be long weekends for peers to get together, because that's something that we don't get to do much in the industry. We meet for conferences and we gather in, grim hotel bars and begin conversations that we can never finish. And I share a studio in Brooklyn with 3 other picture book makers, which is this everyday joy, where this family and we have this inbuilt community. We've been together for years and we work together. We're invested in each other's books, and we throw our ideas around and are inspired by the way each other works. And most people don't have that, I've realized. Most writers and illustrators work in relative isolation. And so to be able to share this kind of thing, you can come for a long weekend and get a little taste of this and be fed really well and with a wonderful bar. All those things are very important for being creative, I've found. Cocktails are very good. So, and then there will be longer week-long workshops for people who are thinking about getting into publishing or writing books for children or illustrating. And then hopefully there will be sort of industry gatherings. So agents and editors and librarians and educators and then things for community groups for school visits and all those sorts of things. So it's a hugely, far-ranging, ambitious, organic project. But we'll start slowly and see what happens.
I love that. I have a 2-book deal with Penguin Random House for children's books myself, and I wrote one of them, which Lord knows when it's coming out, and then I still have to write the second one. But I don't know, that doesn't make me a peer, but maybe I can sneak in on one of your long weekends.
Absolutely.
If you need any help with that project or support, or
Thank you.
let me know, because that sounds so. I'm serious. I wouldn't say that if I didn't mean it. You're basically doing like Yaddo for children's books, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's the idea. Yeah.
Amazing. Love that. So do you have any advice for aspiring authors or aspiring children's book writers or illustrators or really anybody? I could just sit and listen to your advice. Whatever you have to say, just,
You're way too kind. I think I was talking to some people who have been wanting to get published for a long time. And I think there's often this sense of there's this track and you have to stay on it. And if you don't meet these goals by a certain time, then you're failing at that. And I just don't think it should be like that at all. I think that I was talking, anyway, I cannot stay on a single linear train of thought.
That's okay. Take them all.
I had a brain scan recently for these rotten migraines, and I got a picture of the inside of my brain, and it was so thrilling to see all of these wiggly lines, because that's exactly how my thoughts work. And I love maps, and there's a map called a meander map. I don't know if you've ever seen these, and it's the map of the course that a river takes over centuries. And so you can look at like a meander map of the Mississippi, and it looks like the inside of a person's brain. And I love that idea of the way that thoughts move and intertwine. And I think that in our daily lives is how we get our ideas and how we should be inspired and how we should work. I think for me anyway, I work on 12 different things at once. And while I'm working, there are different compartments of my brain that are dedicated to different things. The book that I'm close to finishing is right up the front, and that's almost just busy work at this point. And then the one that's waiting in the wings is a little bit behind, and that's where I'm doing heavy research and going down dead ends and rabbit holes. And then way at the back are all the books that are just bouncing around in this kind of great cacophony of jumbled ideas and ricocheting. And that's the most fun place back there because anything can happen. And I think the advice would be just to encourage everybody to keep their ears and eyes open and to walk around thinking, not this is this one track I'm on, but I could go this way, I could go this way. And there's something to be gained from all of those detours, even if it's not readily evident down the track. You'll think, oh my goodness, that note that I wrote 4 years ago has just suddenly crystallized into an idea, or the thing I bought at a flea market because I didn't quite know why, but I couldn't walk past it, that I stuck in a drawer, suddenly, has opened some key to something that was locked. And so I'm all about, the scrapbooks of the brain and any excuse really to go to flea markets. I think that's really, what I'm advocating, which is something we're not doing right now, but hopefully will again.
And what are some of the 12 projects you might be working on right now? Like what's coming next? What can we expect?
Well, I mean, this was such a gargantuan thing, 7 years and really kind of illustrating the world and thinking about, I involved so many people in it. Like there's a page in here. I'm going to show you a page now.
Yeah,
there's
please.
a page in here of colors, how to paint all the colors in the world. And I asked the internet for color names because I had all of these paint tubes and I thought, it would be fun to give them names. I love going into paint stores and looking at the paint chip names. And my partner Ed and I play a game where we pocket a bunch of the paint swatches and then we fold the names back and we have to make the other person guess which names go with which colors. It's good on car trips when you're coming back from the hardware store. But the internet gave me there were about 1,500 submissions and they were just so wonderful. Like one of them was, "Don't get me started, Jen," for a color pink, which is brilliant. And vacuum bag dirt and, they're so good. So right now I'm writing to all the people 2 years later to thank them for their color names. And this was another one, the page that's about birds, was I asked people their favorite birds around the world and they all came in and I formed a giant bird with all of them. So this is at front and center, but one of the other books I'm working on is a book for grown-ups and it's called Proust's Bedroom. This painting you might be able to see behind me, I did after, it's a little bit of a story. The book, Proust's Bedroom, is going to be about my favorite writers' houses, which I am visiting around the world. It's been suspended for a minute. And it's part memoir and part biography of these writers and a little bit sort of travel going to all these places. And it's Herman Melville and Dylan Thomas and Virginia Woolf and Jane Austen and Beatrix Potter and a bunch of writers. But when I was 18, I was in Paris thinking I had discovered it, as all 18-year-olds do. And I found myself at the Musée Carnavalet that is sort of the History of Paris museum. And I'd been up all night and, it was just so wonderful to wander Paris at dawn and then to arrive at this museum. And I found Proust's Bedroom and I had never read a word of Proust, but I thought it was just impossibly romantic. And I took a snapshot, which when I got home to Australia much later, printed and put on my wall. And I lived with this all through college. And when I moved to the States, I brought this photograph with me. It's always been on my studio wall. And then one day I thought I'd make a painting of this bedroom because there was something monastic about this bedroom. And I loved the cell-like room and then this decadent gold, like dragon scales of a quilt. I made the painting. Then a couple of years later, we were in Paris around New Year's Eve with my partner Ed and our 4 kids. And we found ourselves outside the museum. And I said, kids, we can go, let's go and see Proust's Bedroom. And we went in there and my son ran ahead and we turned the corner and there it was, except it wasn't Proust's bedroom. It was somebody else's bedroom. And my 18-year-old self had seen the label on the wall and taken the photograph, but the label actually referred to the next bedroom.
Oh, no.
Which I didn't like the look of at all. It was quite dour. There was a lot of ugly furniture in it. And I thought, no, that can't possibly be Proust's bedroom. It must be this one. And so I've been living, under this painting and dining out on it for years. And in fact, someone at the French consulate said, I hear you did a painting of Proust's bedroom. Can we use it for the anniversary of Swan's Way? And thankfully, I was out of the country, because otherwise it would have been my everlasting humility and shame that they would have had to gently say, actually Paul Leoto's bedroom and not Prue's bedroom at all. So that is the introduction to this book. I thought after that the least I could do would be to read Swan's Way. So I've read Swan's Way now. I'm slowly working my way through Remembrance of Things Past, and it's an interesting, sleepy read with beautiful bits in it. Have you ever read Proust?
I did. I read Swan's Way in college.
Yeah. I think I have to read it about 6 times before it's, maybe all in there. There are bits that made me laugh out loud, and then there were bits that I just read the same page 5 times and couldn't retain it at all.
Yeah, I should probably go back. That's a wonderful story. I love the yellow bedspread. Well, congratulations on your book release and getting it out, this book about the world, out into the world. It's really exciting, and I'm sure makes you feel so accomplished, and, to have that sort of closure on such a giant project that's gone on for so long.
Thank
you. Enjoy the success that follows, and let's stay in touch.
Yes.
I'm not far away, and well, I want to I already started following the Milkwood Farm Instagram account, so I'm very interested. I will be tracking the progress.
Thank you. Well, it's been lovely to talk to you.
You too. Have a great day.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode in the Book Blast week. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know I enjoyed recording it. Don't forget to check out my new podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Lose Weight. Pretty soon, moms won't have time to listen to podcasts. And check out the Instagram community that goes along with it. And if you would like to join, please request to join. It's for anyone who wants to feel better in their body tomorrow than they do today. And it's a supportive group of like-minded souls who just need the community to achieve their goals. Moms Don't Have Time to Lose Weight. Thanks for listening to this episode of Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens and at Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Also sign up for my newsletter at zibbyowens.com and sign up for my virtual book club and meet lots of authors on Zoom every other week. Thanks so much to Steve and Ryan at Texture Sound for the sound editing. And thank you to Morning Moon Productions for providing this fantastic intro and outro music.